It's like a lot of people say, Khabib talk about only about, oh, he fight for legacy, but what about money? It's like if you do something you don't like, it's gonna be difficult. I just do enough with this sport, and I sacrifice all my life for this sport, and now I become champion. I defend my titles, and I think it was good time to retire it, and now I'm enjoying with my retirement. It was nothing difficult.
Hey fight fans, welcome to our YouTube channel. Hope you're doing well. In today's video, we will be talking about one of the greatest mixed martial artists to ever compete in the octagon, Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov. Khabib is a part of mixed martial arts royalty due to his incredible achievements inside the octagon. He is the UFC's greatest ever lightweight champion and possibly for many, the greatest fighter ever, as he is the only fighter in the history of the sport to finish his career undefeated with 29 wins and no losses. Khabib also enjoys a lot of support and appreciation from fans and celebrities all over the world, as he is one of the most popular athletes from Russia. The Eagle called time on his career in 2020, but still is very much involved in development of MMA as a sport. So today we will look back at the Eagle's marvelous career and see what life is like for Khabib post-retirement.
Number 4. Early steps into MMA with the guidance of his father.
Khabib, under the tutelage of his father, Khabib Nurmagomedov, didn't rush into MMA right from the start. In fact, he started training for freestyle wrestling, after which he learned the art of sambo. He started sambo in 2005 and became a two-time combat sambo champion and champion of Russia, after which Khabib had gained an interest in a career in MMA by watching one of its fights during training. His father Khabib agreed to his desire, but carefully constructed his path of becoming an MMA fighter. He first asked Khabib to train for judo, with the knowledge that he would be better equipped to handle the sport with those skills. Also, with his background in sambo, Khabib was ready to test himself in MMA. He made his debut against Bayramov in 2009 in an MMA tournament held in his native Russia. He made a swift start to his MMA career by finishing Bayramov with a triangle choke in the first round of the fight. In his fourth fight, which was the final of the Pancration MMA tournament, he faced Shamil Abdulkarimov. In that fight, Khabib displayed his all-round game, mixing up his skills to good effect. He showed his superior grappling and strength to overpower Abdulkarimov in every exchange. The fight went the distance, but there was only one winner, as Khabib won the fight via unanimous decision. His father's advice to hone his skills in other forms of MMA came in handy, as Khabib was starting to deliver the goods as an MMA fighter. His father himself was a former sambo and freestyle champion and was also renowned as a coach in those disciplines. Khabib would later compete in the M1 Global MMA promotion of Russia to further evolve himself as an MMA fighter. Going by his early ring name of Bad Boy Khabib, he made his opponents suffer when they stepped inside the cage with him.
Khabib Bad Boy Nurmagomedov!
He would comfortably take down his opponents and keep them on the ground as long as he wanted. In one of his notable victories over Shamhalayev, he put his opponent in a tangle by gaining top control and smashing him from the top until he caught hold of the arm from which his opponent was trying to defend himself to submit via an armbar.
Все. Ну, в общем-то, такой достаточно прогнозируемый результат.
Khabib Nurmagomedov!
Khabib would then become an excellent operator on the ground during his time in M1, finishing opponents and completely dominating fights from start to end. He would later compete in several joint promotions such as Pro FC and amass a 16-0 MMA record. By this time, Khabib had become one of the hottest prospects in MMA, and a move to US was beckoning for the Eagle.
Number 3. The move to the UFC.
By way of his exploits and increasing reputation as an upcoming MMA fighter, the UFC decided to sign Khabib in 2012.
Отлично. Как номер тебе? Номер как тебе? UFC?
Hailing from Dagestan, The stage was set for Khabib to show his skills and represent his people in the biggest platform in MMA. He made his debut in the lightweight division against Kamal Shalarus at UFC on FX1, and he made his opponent look very average. He dominated the fight with his incredible grappling and was also solid in his stand-up as well. He finished Shalarus in the third round via a rear naked choke to kickstart his UFC career with a win. In his second fight against Gleison Tibau, Khabib was having trouble taking him down, but that didn't faze him as he gave Tibau no respite with his relentless pressure by way of his striking and grappling. He achieved a unanimous decision victory and thus gained momentum in his UFC career.
I'm not really nervous, just really overwhelmed. Really serious fight, and I'm really happy to be part of this promotion. I had a lot of offers from different organizations in the US, but this is definitely the greatest.
The Khabib juggernaut kept on rolling as he gained victories over the likes of Thiago Tavares, Abel Trujillo, and Pat Healy. The pattern of those victories was quite simple. Absolute domination from start to finish. In his victory against Trujillo, Khabib displayed his superior grappling by completing a record 21 takedowns in a UFC fight, a record that hasn't been matched till date. Those victories enabled Khabib to face the top 10 of the lightweight division, and it felt that whoever was pitted against the Eagle were surely going to have their hands full stopping him from victory. His first big test in the UFC came in the form of former lightweight champion Rafael Dos Anjos. Dos Anjos himself was a high-level grappler and was certainly going to be a tougher assignment for Khabib as compared to his previous opponents. The fight started with Khabib on the front foot. Khabib made light work of Dos Anjos as he never let the former champion have any kind of control, taking him down by will and smothering him on the ground with some heavy strikes. That ensured another convincing victory for Khabib, and one which would enable him to break into the top 10 rankings. Khabib had become the fighter to watch out for in the lightweight division and was set to face future rival Tony Ferguson. But Khabib would suffer a cruciate ligament injury in 2014, which would put a halt on that fight, due to which it got canceled. That spell on the sidelines proved to be challenging for Khabib as he suffered a rib injury during recovery. In many ways, those injuries cost him a possible title fight with the then-champion Anthony Pettis. But in 2016, he put his injury troubles behind him and was set to make the long-awaited return against Tony Ferguson at a UFC Fight Night event. Disaster struck again, as Ferguson had to withdraw from the fight due to injury, and he was replaced by Daryl Horcher. This time, injuries couldn't prevent Khabib from dominating his opponents as he ruthlessly finished Horcher via TKO in the second round from a crucifix position.
Wouldn't be a bad stop. 7-0 in the UFC.
On his return, Khabib only had one thing in mind, and that was to become the lightweight champion. He wasted no time in showing his intentions for the title by demolishing top heavyweights Edson Barbosa and Michael Johnson. The manner of those victories was absolutely brutal, as he suffocated both Barbosa and Johnson with his incredible grappling and relentless pressure on the ground. Khabib in his career had been the humble and soft-spoken fighter, but after his submission victory over Johnson at UFC 205, he decided to up the ante in the UFC bragging rights by delivering a memorable call-out that is still remembered as one of the greatest moments in the UFC.
You know, guys, this is true. This is not trash talking. Hey, guys, Irish only 6 million, Russian 150 million. I want to fight with your chicken because this is #1 easy fight in lightweight division. Alhamdulillah.
Number 2, the Eagles rise to the top of the mountain.
After his call-out of Conor McGregor, who won the lightweight championship at UFC 205, Khabib was right in the title picture along with Tony Ferguson. McGregor would later vacate the title in order to pursue a multi-million-dollar boxing match against Floyd Mayweather. This meant the UFC had to find a champion for the lightweight division, with Khabib and Ferguson the likely candidates for it at UFC 223. But due to unavoidable circumstances, the fight got canceled again as Ferguson picked up an injury. As a late replacement, the featherweight champ Holloway was slotted in for the title fight. But just a week before the fight, Holloway was deemed unfit to compete by the doctors and had to withdraw as well. This left Khabib frustrated. With the UFC having only a week to find a replacement for the event, finally they got one as Al Iaquinta decided to step in for the title fight. The main event was set, and Khabib finally had the opportunity to fight for the title. And he made the most of it by picking up a one-sided decision victory over Al Iaquinta to win the UFC Lightweight Championship. After Khabib's victory, the UFC saw this as the perfect opportunity for Conor McGregor's comeback, where he would face the champion at UFC 229. The pre-match excitement for the fight was at an all-time high, with both fighters delivering explosive moments during the pre-fight press conference. McGregor was the more aggressive out of the two, as he went a bit too far with his insults towards Khabib.
How's Noah, huh? Yeah, shut your mouth. Never speak about me, ever in your life. Watch yourself around me, because you be out here quick. Go ahead. Yeah, hold on, let me get my pose on my belt.
Nevertheless, that created an enormous buzz for the fight, with fans eagerly waiting for it. Khabib maintained the calm of a champion and chose to stay quiet. But the champion did his talking inside the cage as he overwhelmed McGregor with his tremendous strength and ground control. By the end of the fourth round, the fight had become a no contest as Khabib's pressure had wore down McGregor, after which the Irishman submitted to a rear naked chokehold. The event had an unceremonious end to it, with both Khabib and McGregor's camp going after each other after the fight. The pair had a lot of hostility between them, ever since McGregor had attacked a bus, which Khabib and other fighters had boarded outside the UFC headquarters.
Just tell me where, and that's it. Why you need to come here? Show up like you wanna fight or something like this. Send me a message, hey, come here, this place, and that's it.
The rivalry was thus settled at UFC 229, with Khabib having the last say in it with his victory. It was also the most bought pay-per-view in MMA history, with 2.4 million pay-per-view buys. The Eagle by now had become a huge name in the MMA world, and he solidified his status as the greatest lightweight champion by defending his title against the likes of Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. After a submission victory over Gaethje, Khabib shocked the world, as he declared that he was retiring from the sport, as prior to the event at UFC 264, he had lost his father due to COVID, after which he didn't see himself competing in MMA without his father. The Eagle in his career is nothing short of sensational, as he achieved elite status in MMA by finishing as an undefeated lightweight champion, and also the distinction of having never lost a round or having bled in his career. Now, time for a fun fact.
Fun fact.
Khabib, when he is not fighting, weighs around 185 to 200 pounds, a frame similar to a light heavyweight. Judging by that, the Eagle used to cut 45 pounds of weight to get to lightweight for his fights. Fighters usually don't go through such adverse weight cuts without having their performance compromised, but the Eagle still delivered peak performances inside the octagon, which makes his achievements all the more laudable.
Number 1. Life post-retirement.
Khabib, after retirement, has taken a full-time responsibility of coaching his brothers from Dagestan, such as Islam Makhachev, Umar and Usman Nurmagomedov, to name a few, in their respective fights. He, along with his head coach Javier Mendez, actively oversee and assist the training activities of their fighters and accompany them in their corners during fights. He is now a mentor to his Dagestani brothers, and similar to his fighting career, is undefeated in his coaching career as well. Khabib is a big example to the Dagestani community and people all over the world due to the respect and the integrity he conducted during his career. He also does a lot of charity work, which goes unnoticed, as after the McGregor fight, he once went to Nigeria and donated an undisclosed amount to repair broken wells and set up water facilities to overcome the water drought in that region.
Чтобы мне дал возможность, чтобы я мог помочь хоть чем-то, да, не обязательно, чтобы ты был, там, я не знаю, миллиардером, чтобы помог. Если у тебя есть 2 рубля, уже ты можешь помочь, ты можешь рубль отдать. Так что люди думают, вот, у меня нет возможности, чтобы помочь кому-то. Нет, возможность она всегда есть.
Money was never a motivating factor for Khabib throughout his career, as he very recently had turned down a $100 million mega fight in boxing against Floyd Mayweather, an offer which was made to lure Khabib out of retirement. In fact, during his UFC career, there were talks to do a second fight against Conor McGregor in Saudi Arabia, for which he was offered a huge $80 million for that fight. But the Eagle declined that too, saying that such a huge sum of money would be better used for charity. Khabib, being a huge personality in the world, recently became an ambassador for GMT Token in a Future Summit exhibition in Dubai. It is a token that is used to mine bitcoins, and Khabib's association with the company will be seen as a stamp of approval by many. The Eagle has only represented himself with brands that are in adherence with his morals and don't violate the teachings of his religion. In a bid to give the fighters from Eastern Europe a platform in MMA, he now heads the Eagle FC promotion as the owner and fight promoter of the organization. The organization is set to host an event in Moscow in memory of his late father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, where fighters trained by his father will be a part of the fight card. Khabib's career and his activities outside the octagon has made him a prominent figure and an inspiration to many in the world. But the undefeated Eagle is now very much involved in the development of the next group of fighters in Dagestan and has left an indelible legacy as a person and as a fighter. The Eagle will always be remembered as one of the best and will surely go down as a Hall of Fame career. And by this, we have come to the end of our video today. But before leaving, we would like to know, is Khabib the most dominant fighter in the history of MMA? And what were the key moments in the Eagle's great career? And what do you think of Khabib's life post-retirement? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.